And now, please welcome the co-founder and CEO of SpaceVIP, Roman Chiporukha, and the CEO of Space Perspective, Michael Savage, in discussion with Skift Editor-in-Chief, Sarah Kopit.
All right, so this is going to be a fun one. We're going to talk about space. So why am I hearing about space so much now? I went on New York Times today. There's another rocket taking off. It's everywhere. There was an R2-D2 thermos in the green room. Why is space on everybody's mind in the zeitgeist right now? What's going on?
Well, I think the last 2 to 3 years have really catalyzed conversations because we've had really successful launches in 2022 between Virgin and Richard Branson. You have great images coming out of the James Webb Telescope that are inspiring people to consider and learn about space. You have a lot of private sector leadership, like some of the companies that I just mentioned, and I think people are starting to want to learn more about why space is important, because I think 50% of the technological innovation that we all take for granted actually comes from space, and most people don't even realize that.
What kind? Tell me.
Well, exercise equipment was actually created to battle muscle atrophy in astronauts, and it's now turned into a $1 trillion industry. The GPS that got most of you here by virtue of Uber or your navigation system was the unlikely child of the space race. Velcro, Michael's scratch-resistant lenses, we can go on and on. So there's a big component of space for Earth that's happening that most people don't realize, and that's part of the reason that we're here, to inspire you to ask more questions.
Yeah, so we are specifically talking today about space tourism, right? And so I feel like we're on a precipice for this. So far, it's really just been suborbital rockets, right? That's what Jeff Bezos, that's what, what is the space trio, Bezos, Branson, and Musk have been doing. But now we've got something different, don't we? What do we got, Michael?
We've got something that's more accessible, that doesn't require the same training that our friends in the industry have.
Yep.
If you want to go up under propulsion on a rocket, it takes training, and you've got 6 Gs on your chest as you go up, and that's a thrill ride. But we want to make going into space accessible. And so at Space Perspective, we have a pressurized capsule that goes to the edge of space underneath a hydrogen balloon. You move at a whopping 12 miles an hour as you journey to the edge of space for views like this. And anyone who can ride on an average commercial airplane can ride in Spaceship Neptune.
So these pictures are absolutely incredible. But, this isn't a new technology, is it?
No. As a matter of fact, space exploration started with what we call pre-astronauts, who actually went up in capsules under balloon to begin to explore the edge of space. So in the 50s and 60s, you had people that went up to great heights to understand the upper atmosphere. Kittinger jumped the first large human space jump, right? As a matter of fact, he said he didn't want to come down. And here we are full circle. This isn't pre-astronauts. Now we're going to be taking consumers to the edge of space using a refined version of that technology.
Yeah. So for this audience, we're talking to a whole bunch of travel executives in this room. Talk to me a little bit about, how you're gonna, how much it costs, how you get on the list, all of the consumer focused stuff. When are you gonna start doing this?
So we'll start by saying this is a luxury experience, right? Now, Roman's worked with Axiom, and, we have our friends at Virgin and Blue, and the entry point is quite steep. We're a fraction of that, and taking people in an experience that's much longer and a bit more luxurious. Tabor, our co-founder, who's actually here in the front row, Tabor McCallum, co-founder and our CTO, very often brings up the point that all of the capsules that currently take people to space can fit inside of our capsule from a volume perspective. This is a very spacious, very luxurious capsule. And for $125,000, you can purchase a 6-hour ride, which gives you 2 hours up, 2 hours at the edge of space, in a capsule with luxury seats, looking out the largest windows ever flown to space, where you can enjoy a meal. There's a restroom, just in case. We call it the loo with a view. And then you come down gently under balloon. There's no transition, so we've removed some of the points that could cause danger. Anytime there's a transition, say from jet to rocket or possibly balloon to parachute, it causes some complications. We've removed that. You go up and down under balloon the entire time.
So let's talk more generally about space tourism. We just had an election in the United States, and Elon Musk, one of the famous space trio, is everywhere these days. What do you think his presence on the government scene in the United States of America is going to do for space and space tourism?
I think it'll add value because he's such a high-profile individual. Yes, he's certainly polarizing, but that's further to the notion of private sector coming in to help government be more efficient, activate things in a meaningful way, and educate the public about the things that they should know about.
Yeah. And what about partnerships? Got a whole bunch of potential partners in this room. What brand, how are brands getting involved in space tourism? What does that look like right now before your company has even gone up?
Yeah, partnerships, like our partnership with SpaceVIP, is critical. While we were still a slide deck, Roman was out supporting what we do and helped us partner with a Michelin star chef to really launch the first Michelin star meal in space. And you think, who wants to go and have a Michelin star meal in space? Well, apparently a lot of people, because it landed in Forbes very quickly. It got the exposure that we wanted to show that you can do all sorts of creative activations with these capsules, taking people to new heights, having this amazing meal. But the partnership we have with SpaceVIP is critical for that. Roman's great at what he did for Axiom, what he's doing for us, and in helping us find new ways to help people explore their culinary palate and the edge of space at the same time. And then for us, brand partnerships, Mercedes Maybach was our first brand partnership. And, Mercedes didn't just come and say, hey, we'd like to throw our logo on your capsule. They came and fine-tooth combed the engineering team and met with Tabor to figure out whether they actually built something sound. They're not going to put their name on something that isn't real. And they'll work with us to activate. We were at Pebble Beach at the Tour de Elegance, and we did a co-activation with them there. They'll work on putting their fingerprint on the design of the interior of the capsule. And then all of our explorers will be taken from Mission Control or their hotel down to Spaceship Neptune in the all-electric Maybach. We're a carbon neutral spacecraft, right? Because we do go up under balloon and not rocket. And so we wanted a carbon neutral way to bring our explorers from their hotel to the ship.
Is that what you call them? Explorers?
Yes.
Not astronauts?
No, they're not astronauts. No.
Because they don't cross the line, right?
Is somebody who's trained. It's a profession. Yeah. They're taking risks and pushing science forward. And we want to be careful to honor that, but also give a label to the people that are doing something new and exciting. So we've called them explorers.
So when you go up, you can see the curvature of the Earth
and the darkness of the cosmos.
We're just little tiny specks floating in the void.
Tiny specks, but I think really relevant specks with the ability to create change and create perspective. And that's one of the things that's really driving the space industry as a whole, is this notion of the overview effect. And for those of you who are not familiar, that's seeing the Earth from space and realizing that the borders that you see on a Google map only exist there. You don't see that from space. From space, you see a beautiful blue planet with no conflict or dogmas, and we are effectively all brothers and sisters, irrespective of our political, religious affiliations or who we sleep next to at night. And I think space can really be a catalyst for greater human change. And I know that may sound idealistic, but that sort of philosophical approach is important to take into consideration. Michael mentioned the meal that we're doing at the edge of space. that was created not for clickbait, but really to inspire people to pay attention. Because yes, wealthy individuals paying $125,000 or $50 million to go to space is great, but why do you do that? And the focus needs to be shifted back to everything that comes as a result of that. We're here in the Middle East where you have shortages of water, and people are trying to figure out how to grow plants in space with a fraction of the water that we utilize. Those solutions can be brought back down on Earth and brought to this region, to California, to South Africa. So there's a big space for Earth component that's not being spoken about in the media because the billionaire joyride narrative is being sensationalized and there's a lot of finger pointing. So we're here to tell you that it's not at all that, and there's a lot of fascinating things, technological innovation happening right now.
So speaking of the billionaire joyride narrative, reminder, if you have any questions, please go on the app and ask them. I've got one from the audience right now. How far are we from affordable space tourism? And I'm going to go out on a leap and say $125,000 per person is not affordable.
So it's interesting because when we entered the market, our friends at Virgin and Blue are obviously double, triple, if not 10x what we're currently charging. One, we can eventually get to a place where we build a larger capsule and drive some of those costs down. It may not be as luxurious, 16 or 20 people versus 8, but we will be able to provide a more affordable experience. I think the other piece, and I'll answer this 2 other ways. One, we were surprised at the people that purchased tickets. We've sold 1,800 tickets. We have 225 million in backlog. And some of them are your average middle-class families, many baby boomers who took that nest egg and looked at their kids and said, hey, you're not going to inherit 500,000. You're getting 2 because mom and I are going to space. Right. And they purchased seats as a couple because they watched all of these rockets and the Discovery and all these go up in the 80s and 90s. And now they're at a place in life where they said, if we can do this, this is our bucket list item. And they watched Apollo, some of them. So it isn't just millionaires and billionaires that are buying these tickets. People are saving and making sure that they get the experience they want.
So let's talk about regulation. I mean, I can't even imagine like how many different organizations, government entities are like looking around your capsule, trying to find things wrong to keep everybody safe. How do you navigate that? What is that like? And what is it like outside the United States? I mean, this is kind of a global thing we're talking about here.
One, I don't navigate it. That fine gentleman in the front row does. But I'll answer it simplistically. The FAA, thankfully, has had, the US FAA has had an impact globally. And so those standards are pretty widely accepted, as are the Coast Guards. And I bring up the Coast Guard because we're a marine launch and retrieval operation. So we're regulated by the FAA's Office of Spaceflight. We do currently fall under some old balloon regulations. And as we fly humans, we'll cooperate and lean in with the FAA. We have advisors that were part of that, the FAA's Office of Spaceflight that are working with us, and Tabor and his team lean into safety and regulations. We have triple redundancy in most of our systems. Tabor's got systems on every human spacecraft that carries a human in the US, including the ISS. So he's used to leaning into that. And then with the Coast Guard, there were some unfortunate incidents over the last few years, and the Coast Guard did scrutinize us heavily, but we're thankful for that. We passed that scrutiny. It's a good thing that they checked and everything. And then, of course, we had our successful launch in September because we were given the go-ahead and the green light from the Coast Guard for our launch and retrieval system.
Okay, we have a ton of questions from the audience, unsurprisingly. Okay, we're going to go very, very fast.
Yeah.
Do you have customers in the UAE?
We do. As a matter of fact, this is a target launch site for us. Being able to pull the ship in, because we can scale. As a marine operation, we just move the ship. being able to launch over Palm Island, go up and see the Burj Khalifa underneath and see all these recognizable landmarks, this is one of the most beautiful areas we could launch from. And so, yes, we do have customers here in the region, and we have plans with the right partner to launch from the region.
Can you stay overnight? You booking all-night stays in space?
I
Space
love
hotel.
this question.
Yeah.
I think.
So the answer is yes. We can keep the capsule up longer, and with the right hotel partner, selling overnight stays.
This is the audience.
With the right hotel partner, with the right hotel partner, an overnight stay is absolutely possible.
And you can also have an overnight stay with other providers who are doing trips to the International Space Station.
Yes.
Vast Space is building their own free-flying space station. So there are other opportunities as well.
How can local DMOs and destinations leverage this opportunity with space tourism to promote their own destinations?
You know, I just came from Alula in Saudi and was there talking to the folks about the observatory that they're building. I think there's tremendous opportunities in the sense of people want to learn more. And so it's important to focus on the educational aspect, why space is important, how we came from a history of astronomy and navigating various points. And, you know, Hilton was up here earlier. They had a partnership in 2022 working with the space company. There are plenty of luxury goods providers who are doing branded clothing, and I think that's all focused in the direction of trying to educate the public and catalyze and inspire conversations about why space is important. So what I would recommend to the people in this room who want to get on board is engage in educating the public about space tourism, and you will always be known and associated with that notion, and people will buy from you and engage with you because you had put in the time to teach them.
When's the first flight planned? A crewed flight. I know you've already been up without a crew.
We have a series of test flights to prove out, some of the technology, the environmental systems inside the balloon. We look to move through those test flights in 2025 and move to human flight and commercialization in 2026.
Okay. Are you going to go up? Who's going up in the first one?
The very first flight is going to be Tabor, our co-founder Jane, and Sir Richard Branson, who has recently come on as an invested partner. Yeah. And then after that, some of our engineers, and hopefully I'll be on the third or fourth flight. Roman said he's going to do the drop test with me.
Thank you.
To test our parachute systems, which will be a thrill ride.
Well, then about the redundancies. I mean, I don't know. It's like we've all seen the Hindenburg. What are the picture? What happens if it all goes terribly wrong up there?
Well, thankfully, we have triple and sometimes quadruple redundancy on most of our systems, including the avionics and everything that we operate the balloon with for ascent and descent. If for some odd reason there was an off-nominal scenario, we can release the balloon and go to parachute. If 4 huge parachutes will release, that the gentleman who designed that system has 8 parachutes on Mars. He knows what he's doing. But those parachutes would bring you down very gently, and we'd splash down in the ocean very safely. Capsules have been splashing down in the ocean for years in the space industry, and we found that that's the safest way to bring people down. That's why we're a marine launch and retrieval operation.
All right, last question. What are the unique opportunities for space tourism here in the GCC?
Well, I think the GCC is at the crossroads of the world, and you have the Middle East, Africa, Europe. There's so much space and so much opportunity for construction. Alula is a perfect example where you're building an observatory, you're able to build a runway, educational facilities, et cetera. I was just at an event at the St. Regis in New York, and it's really fascinating to see how dedicated the UAE is to space education. The Saudis just had 2 of their first astronauts, one of them being a female, which is amazing for the region. So again, I continue to stress the notion of exciting and inspiring the younger generation to pursue careers in STEM and in aerospace. And I think the Middle East has done a really great job of it.
All right, Michael, Roman, thank you so much.